Hello and welcome to Bookworms. It's the show where two brothers read books and then talk about those books. I'm your host, Alex.
And I'm Joe, the better brother.
How you doing, Joe?
Much better now that you're here, Alex.
Oh, thanks. I was going to make a joke about how you're old, but then you said a nice thing.
Well, by the time this comes out, I will be a year older from when we recorded this, so yeah, I am old.
Yeah, nerd.
Okay, then. You can go home. Yeah. So, yes, we are talking about a book that I picked this month. After a couple of slog reads, I figured we should go something a little bit cozier.
Yeah, I'm really glad you chose a book that is like a third the length of the book I chose.
Yeah, it was nice. This book was it just over 200 pages or just under 200 pages?
Yeah, just under. It was like the perfect length for a book.
Yeah, I didn't feel like we were rushing to get this done in time for the month now. The last two was like a real scramble. Like I gotta just sit down and read, and even if I have other things I'd rather be doing.
Yeah, this is like, I don't know. This was a great choice. It was perfect. It got me like back into like I can just enjoy reading. I don't have to sit here and slog for 3 weeks through a book that I'm not that into. It's just a simple, enjoyable read, and I'm eternally grateful for you.
You're welcome. I do look out for you, Alex. I chose this book specifically for you. I know how much you love a cozy mystery.
Oh,
I know how much you love short books. You know, looking at your Goodreads, how many your page count is for how many books you read is quite low.
Yeah, it's like 230 pages a book or something like that.
I think I have like half the books you've read, but I still have more pages read.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
But yeah, so I picked a cozy mystery called Death on Demand by Carolyn Hart.
And let me tell you how hard it was to get this book. I got like the last battered used copy off of Amazon. It's in no bookstores. Like that is one bone I had to pick. This book was hard to find.
Yeah, for some reason her books don't seem to be in print very long. I get it. The cozy mystery genre is a behemoth. I mean, there are thousands of books published every year. So I recently listened to 372 Pages Quilting Cozy Verse book that they read for Terrible Books, and of course they loved it because it was so terrible. they did a over under on which book had more characters, their cozy mystery or Dostoevsky's one of his novels, or was it one of the Russian guys?
Probably like War and Peace or something like that.
And their book was around 200 pages versus the 1,000-something pages of this Russian author, and yeah, it was I don't remember what it was, but it was pretty close. But anyway, but they were talking about how big this genre is, not only in the traditionally publishing realm, but also in the self-publishing and fanfic realms. There's just thousands upon thousands of these books published every year.
Yeah, it's really hard to stand out in this genre.
Yeah. It's not that I read a lot of these, but I think this is probably one of the better ones that you could find if you can find this book.
Yeah, if you're looking for Cozy Mystery 101, Death on Demand is a great example.
Yeah, if you're just looking to dip your toe in.
Yeah, I'd say probably the most famous cozy mystery is probably like the Miss Marple series by Agatha Christie.
Yeah, she is definitely the queen of cozy.
Yeah, the queen of crime, the queen of cozy.
But yeah, so...
Other than that, you got to go to like Murder, She Wrote.
Yeah.
She totally committed all those crimes. It was her the entire time.
Exactly. Though I know it's not so much cozy, but Columbo probably is also in that realm.
It's probably nearby. I was looking up like what makes a cozy mystery different from a regular mystery, and one of those things is like the protagonist is not a cop. So, like Columbo's an investigator. He's not really a full policeman, I believe.
No, he's just an investigator. He's a private dick kind of thing.
Yeah, whereas like Carolyn Hart, her main protagonist is a
mystery bookstore owner.
Yes, a bookstore owner, so perfectly capable of solving crime.
Well, it's a mystery bookstore owner, so she's read lots of mysteries, Alex, so she knows how to solve crime.
Yeah, my biggest drawback from this book is the amount of name dropping she does.
Which is apparently very common in cozy mysteries. I learned from the 372 guys.
Oh, they just kind of like build each other up?
Yeah. I will admit that was something that annoyed me the first time I read through, but the more books from the series I read, and I read the majority of the books in the series, by the end it starts to get, you can tell the author was getting sick of the series, but She. It kind of gets to the point where it's like they're name dropping so many people. I'm like, I have no clue who you're talking about here, but it sounds great and it's kind of goofy.
It's like any cozy mystery writer or book that's kind of stood out even a little bit gets name dropped.
Yeah, but so another thing that makes a cozy mystery is all the deaths are off page. They're off scene.
Yeah, there's very little blood and gore. Like there's a little bit, but usually the graphic stuff happens off camera or it's like very sudden. Also the methods of people getting killed, they're usually less violent,
less gory.
Yeah, so like instead of like getting shot or stabbed, you get poisoned or pushed.
And not saying that people aren't getting shot and stabbed. I mean, this one, the guy takes a dart to the throat. But
yeah, there's a surprising for a very short murder mystery. There's a lot of bodies.
but again, it's one of those things where in a hard-nosed or more realistic book, it would be a violent death. Here, it's just he took a dart to the throat and dropped dead.
Yeah, and also setting is important too. It usually happens in some sort of enclosed location, or that's very
rural.
Yeah, rural, and like usually it's like upper class kind of setting. So like the setting for this book is on an island full of mystery writers.
Yeah, so let me read the back here, Alex. So,
please do.
So we're starting to jump ahead. At Annie Lawrence's Death on Demand bookstore on Board Rock Island, South Carolina, murder most foul suddenly isn't confined to the well-stocked shelves. Author Elliot Morgan's abrupt demise during a weekly gathering of famous mystery writers called the Sunday Night Regulars is proof positive that a bloody sword is sometimes mightier than a brilliant pen. With Annie in the unenviable position of primary police suspect, the pretty young mystery maven and her wealthy paramour, Max Darling, embark on an investigation into a classic locked room mystery with high stakes, for failing to unmask a brutal and ingenious killer could mean prison for Miss Lawrence, while success could mean her death.
And I just want to pause real quick and dwell on the character named Max Darling.
It is very on the nose.
It's so good. well done.
Yes, it is. And he's just your typical wealthy. I don't know if he's Connecticut. Jesus Christ. I don't know if it's Connecticut money or Rhode Island money, but he is old money. And we are known that he has basically enough money to buy the island, but he just wants to be a playboy.
Yeah, he's very much just kind of a ne'er-do-well, but he's insanely rich. He's got a law degree that he just never uses, and he's an interesting character. I think compared to the last book we read, there's a distinct caricatureness to all the characters, kind of like there was in the last book we read with Poppy War, but this time it works really well.
Well, I think that, this was kind of done intentionally to just because you got, was it 6 or 7 murder mystery writers, and she's trying to differentiate each writer. And it's like, well, they're all writing the same genre, so they got all different subgenres, so let's make them as distinctly different as possible.
Yeah, they all have like one or two kind of differences to tell them apart. Like they all have secrets that they keep, and they're all slightly different secrets per person, and it's kind of fun. Like you don't have to, and also like you're dealing with like something that's really serious, like a murder or multiple murders, and so you also want to,
bodies do pile up quick in this short book.
Yeah, you also want to keep it like cozy and fun and engaging without being too heavy. So it's kind of good that you don't delve too deeply into the characters. There's like one really intense scene of like domestic abuse, but otherwise the book just kind of keeps like a level of just distance from the people.
And it is told from the perspective of Annie Lawrence. As I said, she's a bookshop owner. Her uncle had recently died and bequeathed her his home and bookstore business. He had fallen off a boat, and spoiler alerts, as we always do. Turns out he was the first murder victim, but we don't know that till over halfway through the book.
Yes, and Annie is a failed actress who's kind of on her last legs, so she's desperately trying to make this bookstore work so that she can survive.
She dated Max in college, but decided that she didn't want a guy that just was a louse, even if he was filthy rich, so she ghosted him.
Yeah, she disappeared to Broward's Rock. I think they were in New York before.
New York.
And the story kind of picks up as Max finally finds her.
Well, so the story actually starts with a murder.
Oh, that's right. I was going to read the beginning too.
Good thing I'm here to keep you on target, Alex.
Yeah, it's a good little... chapter 1 is like a quarter of a page long, and it's a great setup. Alone, each item was insignificant. Some were easily found. A few were stolen from friends or acquaintances, but their value was so slight that the losses occasioned mild puzzlement and nothing more. A pair of doctor's rubber gloves, a spool of black extra-strong button and carpet thread, a handful of assorted keys, clear fingernail polish remover, one dart. There was just one more item, the most important one of all. And then it goes into a vet tech heading towards her clinic.
Yeah, because she has to feed the dogs or give medication to the dogs there, and she walks in on a robbery and gets brutally murdered.
Yep, Jill Kearney becomes our, I guess, first victim within the confines of the book, but the second victim overall. She gets clobbered over the head. We find out probably the intent wasn't to kill her, it was just to knock her out so the killer could escape, but she had a thin skull, so she got killed.
Yeah. So, of course, this small island community is rocked by the violent death, and of course, Annie, who runs this bookstore, and it's just off-season from the tourists coming, so Annie's kind of wrapping up her money making for the year and hoping that she can survive the winter months without really selling a lot of books. And we start meeting some of the characters. We meet the next murder victim, who we find out wants to cause all sorts of problems for Annie and her little book group.
Yeah, his death is the main catalyst for the plot getting driven along, Mr. Elliot Morgan.
Yeah, and then we meet Ingrid, the assistant shop person, teller, and who's just kind of there.
Yeah, she doesn't really come into play.
Then there's Henny, the person that's trying to buy a first edition book that keeps saying, "Is it in yet? Is it in yet?" And it's like, "No, it's not in. Go away. We're not even open."
Yeah, it's like, "It's Sunday. I don't open on Sunday. Go away." It's like, you told me I'd be in.
But and a lot of these characters that are mentioned here but don't really have a story do gain more prominence later in the series.
Okay, so it's like set up for future.
So this is all set up. Like Henny ends up becoming Annie's one of her closest friends and helping her solve all the murders in later books.
Okay.
So, and Ingrid is just kind of there to so Annie can solve mysteries and still have someone at the shop to actually sell books and give her income.
Makes sense.
And supply snacks when they're having their big meetings.
Less there to drive the plot and more to fill in the plot holes as they go along.
Exactly. And just a quick note, this book was published in the late 80s, I believe.
Yeah, 87.
Yeah, so it is kind of interesting reading this, and it's like, where are the cell phones? Oh yeah, there are cell phones technically, but only someone like Max has one.
Yeah, it was kind of like that when we did Gone Baby Gone, which came out in the 90s.
Yeah.
It was like slightly more technology, but it's still very... You got to step back into the past a little bit.
Well, one of the big things is that she gets basically a floppy disk, and there's only one computer on the whole island that can actually read said floppy disk, because apparently back then, I don't know if this was true or if this was just a convenient plot point to put her into this guy's home, to Elliot's home. But basically, he had a special computer that only, the iOS or whatever, the program only worked on his computer. They couldn't switch over to a Mac or a whatever other kind of computers they had back then, because they're all basically custom made. Because remember, this is the mid to late 80s.
Yeah, computer technology for consumer use is a lot simpler back then.
I don't know if you remember the computers we had growing up in the early 90s. That's basically what I'm picturing. But yeah, so...
Yeah, this is the age of Atari, as far as graphics go.
But yeah, so we get so keeping that in mind, I've heard a lot of people talk about how it's, and later in the series even, the author writes how it's so much harder to write mysteries with modern technology, because everyone now has a cell phone. Everyone's always being recorded or potentially being recorded. So
yeah, you see that too. I think if you look at crime statistics, more murders get solved nowadays, and just yada yada. It's harder to cover up your tracks.
Yeah, but so you but even writing these mysteries is how do you have a stalker coming after a woman. You know, she has probably mace and a cell phone, and it's like, okay, yeah, that now she's got a picture of him and called 911, and the guy's caught 5 minutes later.
That's it. I mean, it's in real life context, it's a good problem to have. I'm sure as a mystery writer, you're like, God damn it, new technology. What you just gotta do is just keep it in the '80s. Have it be historical fiction.
Or is it 90s works too? Like you said with Gone Baby Gone. Yeah, it's an early cell phone technology where nothing was actually accurate enough to do anything.
And it's like good enough so that you're not like stranded. You can like talk to anybody at any time, but also like you can't
But
record
if you want them to
people
be out of
and-
cell range, it's plausibly easy to do that too.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so we get the setup for the main murder that we're supposed to solve, which is Elliot. We get to that lead up to that night. Max shows up out of the blue because he's looking for the love of his life, Annie. And even though it's one of those tropes of I don't want him, but I'm so in love with him, but I don't want him, and basically you know she's going to wind up with him.
Yeah, he's too cavalier to like, let her like hesitancy stop him.
Yeah, but so we get that, and then we get to the night of the murder, where Elliot takes a dart to the throat.
Yes, the Sunday, what is it called? The Sunday Night Regulars. So a bunch of mystery authors all get together. Like Elliot writes true crime, and he's kind of threatening all the other authors that he's got dirt on them, and he's like right about to tell them all like
what dirt he has on each of them,
and he's gonna publish it all and ruin their lives. And then the lights go out.
There's
And
some thuds and some
yeah,
yelling.
It's
And
a thud, some kerfuffle, and it goes. She flips all the breakers back on, and Elliot is dead.
And the whole thing with the breakers seems kind of convoluted at first because it's like, but you just kind of, this is one of those things where you just kind of have to go with it, suspend some belief, and because that was one of the big things, like the whole idea of how did the killer flip the breakers from across the room, and the best it came up with was dental floss.
Yes, the was it the beginning we read there, the high strength carpet thread.
Yeah, and it's just like you look at, and there are diagrams in the book to show you where everyone was seated.
And there's like tables too of like locations and
Yeah.
possible motives and alibis. Yeah. And so let's go over the suspect list real quick. So now that Elliot's dead, we've got Emma Clyde,
who is guilty of killing her second husband, but no one can prove it except for maybe Elliot, who has blackmail on somebody, or blackmail type material on somebody. But we find out that Elliot's above blackmailing people.
Yes, we have Hal Douglas.
Oh, just a little bit on Emma. She is also a recurring character.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
She comes back and she is a major crime solver for them. She's like the one that's the haughty, I know how to solve everything and I know the answer, but I'm not telling anybody. And then she doesn't usually know, but she's just pretending. And
yeah, there's a couple of those in this book. Because we meet Elliot's ex-wife, who's like the platinum blonde, big boobed lady, who walks around in a tank top all day. We've also got Hal Douglas, who's another author who possibly murdered his wife. Probably did.
Yeah, probably did.
We have the Farleys, who are children's authors, and they're up for a major award. And their secret is that he's got the husband has massive trauma, and he
likes to beat his wife.
He beats his wife pretty badly.
And pretty regularly.
Yes, and we have Fritz Hempel.
He was the cop.
Yeah, the ex-cop turned murder author.
He killed his partner.
Yes, killed his partner. He was a crooked cop.
And crooked cop killed his partner on a hunting accident, I believe.
Yeah,
it wasn't even like a on-duty thing.
Yeah, and we have Captain Mack,
who was also a former cop and police chief, and his big thing throughout the whole book that they tell you is he skimped out on child alimony.
Yeah, he fathered a love child, and he's kind of skimped out on it and went on the lam.
Yeah.
And then finally we have Kelly Rizzoli,
who has a sister who needs a lot of help. I don't know if it's what we're not sure exactly what it is.
She's really only in one scene, and like the takeaway is that she's crazy.
Yeah, she's crazy and gets violent. And her sister is trying to protect her, but at the same time just locks her in the house all the time and kind of hides her away. And it's kind of skeevy and weird, but But she's also one of those people that she was a therapist or went to school for psychology, so she's playing mind games with everybody around her. So that one of the things is like, is the sister really crazy, or is she just being locked away and trying to escape? And
lo and behold, guess what? She's a redheaded.
of course,
Yeah.
all the crazy ones are.
But so yeah, those are our list of suspects. Annie, of course, is the primary suspect.
Because Elliot had told her he was going to raise the rent on her place and try to drive her out if she tried to stop him from ruining everyone's lives.
She's also the only person who like moved when the lights were out, and she also like it happened in her place.
Yeah.
So
And her other motive
she's
was
familiar with the area.
She had been engaged to someone else before Max, faked a pregnancy because a friend of hers was pregnant and didn't want the family that she was married into have the kid.
And then the fiance got really weirded out about it because he saw that like
He was a very black and white, follow the law kind of guy.
Yeah, so he was unable to process that. So like that's Annie's dirt. She helped somebody cover up a pregnancy
By claiming it was hers.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that, why Elliot needed dirt on Annie, we don't really know, other than he just wanted to be an ass. And then briefly we get a slight red herring, even though it was obviously not, because the character is introduced so late, as Alex pointed out. Elliot's ex-wife, who is supposed to be getting money from him, and he skimps out on all the time, but she has all this dirt on everybody and is seeing one of the cops in town, who then badgers Annie because they're questioning his girlfriend for potential murder.
Yeah, that was funny. It's like the big jack dude with the call her trailer trash, but she's trashy lady.
Yeah. So that's our suspect list, and basically for 100 pages, Annie and Max go about trying to solve this crime.
They drink a lot and talk to people.
Yeah. They do get, Annie does get that disc from Elliot in the mail, that little trick in the mail
Yeah, it's like his insurance. He sends all the dirt to Annie. In the case of his demise, so that for some reason chooses her so that she can do with the information as she pleases.
Yeah. And so Annie realizes the only computer that will work to read this file is at his house, so she breaks into his house, opens up the file, sees the list of everyone in the club that had dirt on, sees her name. Instead of reading everyone else's dirt, she goes to her name, starts reading what he has on her, which is where we discover about the first inklings of what she did, where she takes a bonk to the back of the head and gets knocked out.
Yeah, and there's also third murder occurs in that moment.
Yeah, one of the other suspects from the club.
Yeah, it wasn't one of the suspects. It was some nosy busybody, Max's neighbor.
No, she was one of the suspects.
Oh, was she?
Yeah, she was one of the women, one of the authors, and she was watching the house trying to solve the murder herself.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because she had binoculars and a camera, and it's like every small town has a busybody who spies on their neighbors, right? So
exactly.
She sees Annie go into the house, follows her in.
Well, she sees
Annie,
sees
the killer go in,
and sees the killer, and she thinks that the killer is trying, not realizing it was the killer. She snaps a bunch of pictures and says, "I'm not going to let the second person get all the glory of reporting Annie to the cops for breaking into the house." So she goes running over and gets herself killed.
Yeah, she dies, and Annie's now at yet another murder scene. So she's got motive for all three killers. There's also motive for her killing her uncle,
because that was originally ruled as an accidental death.
But he's an experienced seaman, so he's not going to fall off of
his houseboat.
Yeah, his houseboat and drown. Like, it was very, very clearly a murder.
Yeah, but again, small town, so that went under the rug real quick, but all of a sudden the local cop, chief of police, is hot on Annie's tail and wants to pin 4 murders on her.
Yeah, he was very close with Uncle Ambrose, so I think he's kind of hot to pin it on Annie because he kind of suspected her all along because she's the one who profited most from the uncle's death.
And she is the newest one in town because she'd only been there for a year, even though she spent most of her summers there. Everyone else had moved there and had been residents for years at that point.
Yes.
So Alex, how long did it take for you to figure out who the killer was?
I honestly don't really try to figure it out. I like to just kind of read it and watch it unfold. So I had no clue. I think I was telling you before we recorded, I was since everyone had a motive, nobody had an alibi. I was thinking, I don't want to spoil Murder on the Orient Express. I think it's old enough, though, just in case. I thought it was going to be one of those.
There's a recent movie on it, too. So.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be one of those situations. Like, it was going to end similar to that, where since everyone had a motive and everyone had an opportunity, everyone was the one. Like, they all got together and planned to kill him. But it didn't turn out that way. I was a little surprised by that. Technically, I was right, because one of the people did kill him. Just not everybody.
So the first time I read this, which was shortly after college, I think, or right around college, I had no clue. I was bouncing around. It could be this person, it could be this person. Like, I think I knew pretty quick that Emma was a red herring and she was too obvious.
Yeah, I think it was
the
very up there with
the
like
couple with the wife beating was a little too obvious. I think I went with the Fitz there.
Yeah, he would have been a good one.
Yeah. This time though, I had no memory of who the murderer was, but as soon as we got through that murder of Elliot, and everyone's kind of going through their who had motive, what the motives were. I'm like, yeah, it's Captain Mac.
Yeah, yeah. Spoilers. Captain Mac's the killer.
Yeah. So it was pretty obvious if you know what you're looking for these, because a lot of these cozy mysteries have a similar formula where to try to hide who the killer is, they try to talk about him as little as possible while still making him central in the case. And Captain Mac putting his nose in the case, but when it came to his motive, it was like, really, that's it.
Yeah, he's the kind of douchebag that will he'll steal your stuff and then help you look for it, which is exactly what he does. He kills 4 people and then helps solve the crime. Or I guess he gets close to the case so that he can obfuscate and obscure what's happening, but he's acting like he's helping. And that's it. That's kind of like the biggest giveaway, is that he's the most helpful out of all the suspects. He's not just trying to go about his business. He's trying to solve the crime.
And again, you find out about Uncle Ambrose's writing basically a true crime of 4 unsolved murders, and they mention it very briefly and only once, and then act like how did Captain Mac have any connection with Ambrose's cases? One of the murders happened in the city that Captain Mac was the police captain of. It's like so okay, there's your connection, but it just completely brushed it on the road. You mention it once and it's like, okay, but it's that if you're looking for the clues and you're looking at the way a lot of these cozy mystery writers put it to try to hide it, you can usually tell pretty quick. Like right now I'm reading the first Hercule Poirot book by Agatha Christie, and he said a murder happens, they're like, oh yeah, it's this guy.
Yeah, she has a couple Poirot books that are a little harder to get.
Yeah, and I'm not saying like Murder on the Orient Express where it's all of them, and it's like that's the last thing you're gonna expect. And
yeah, she has some really good plot twists in some of her books. I gotta read more of her stuff. I feel like I've read all the big ones though.
Yeah.
Like I read Crooked House, and then There Were None, or Express, Murder of Roger Ackroyd.
After Then There Were None, I was like, I'm going to read all of her Perot books and Marple books, but I'm going to read them in order.
Joke's on you, between the two of those, that's like 50 books.
I know. It's like, this is something I can go until I'm like 50 here.
Yeah. Well, you got a birthday coming up. Yeah, coming up quick here.
I better get reading.
Yeah, after...
But so the way they figure out that it's Captain Mac is basically they find the camera of the last murder victim, and they have to go back to the mainland to get the film. What do you call that?
Developed,
yeah.
Back in the day when you couldn't just look up there were no digital cameras, so you had to look it up. You couldn't just click on the screen and picture freeze it.
They had to bring it to
develop film.
Like a Kodiak developer.
Kodak,
yeah.
Kodiak, we develop bears.
Hey, they're the biggest in the world. But Annie can't leave the island, so Max has to go by himself. But Annie figures it out through just pure speculation.
Yeah, the way she figures it out is really dumb.
And that's kind of the theme of all the books in the series, where the way Annie figures out tends to be the total wild accusation until she gets it right. And then Max or whoever else she's working with ends up doing all the actual legwork and figuring out this is how it's done. But they always figure it out exact the same time.
Yeah, it's like the remember that show Psych?
Yeah.
Where it's just like, even if he doesn't have who the killer is, he's just gonna filibuster and fill space until it finally clicks.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's basically what she does, because she tells everyone to come to the bookstore.
And then
she's gonna be like, I know who the killer is, and then she has no clue, but she's hoping to get the guilt out of somebody.
Like, you're an idiot, and leaves.
Yeah. But then she's looking at a couple of Agatha Christie like pictures
Yeah,
on her
so
wall.
one of the running themes in all these books is at the beginning you get a description of 4 or 5 paintings, and the idea is someone in the book has to figure out by the end of the book what books those paintings represent, book and author. And of course, I mean, I would never in my life ever figure out any of these, but of course at the very last chapter, that's what happens in every book. It's whoever says, oh, it's this book and this author, this book and this other, and goes through all 5. And
Yeah, it's kind of like the Redwall series. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Like the mice and shit.
I
like,
remember those.
Every book has a riddle you got to figure out to like find the magical item that'll
I don't
kill the king.
remember that,
Oh,
but
like the Martin the Warrior's sword's hidden somewhere in the abbey, and they gotta solve a riddle that he left to try and find it.
yeah.
Like it's a whole thing. But yeah, it's similar to that. She's just like looking at the paintings, and it just like clicks. Like, oh, it's Captain Mac, and also Max is on his way back from the ferry, and Captain Mac's probably on his way over there to kill Max and steal the film.
Yeah, so even though he knocks out the cop that's monitoring Annie, and he could have killed Annie, but he just decides to leave her alone.
Yeah, he cuts the power out, knocks out the cop, and then Annie's just fine.
I think the whole time Captain Mac obviously has the huts for Annie, even though he's in his 50s and Annie's like 22. So it's like clearly he's just being a perv.
Yeah, yes. He's got that southern hospitality about him. He's like giving her mint juleps and all that stuff. But it's yeah, he's a weirdo.
Yeah,
I liked him. I kind of wish he wasn't a killer because I liked him and he would have been fun to keep reading. But anyway, that's how it is.
Salter, the police chief, kind of takes that role eventually.
Okay, yeah. I imagine he probably warms up to Annie eventually.
It
It's
basically
usually
warms
how
up
it
and they
goes.
become best of friends, and then he retires, and then so they can kind of use him as like the retired police chief type thing, where he's just off in his fishing boat all the time, and then comes in. So this is how you solve a murder.
so it is like Psych with Sean's dad being a retired police chief.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so it said basically. Oh, yeah, we also learned that Annie was a softball sniper with ability to pitch 100-mile-an-hour fastballs, and
Yeah, that's part of the reason she's a suspect, actually, is because the dart's a thrown item, and she was a highly accurate softball pitcher.
even though
Which
it's
I don't picture her throwing the dart. I don't picture her throwing the dart underhand, but whatever.
Yeah, but I mean, these are a bunch of men that are accusing her. They only think baseball. They don't think softball.
Yeah. And we get like a Chekhov's gun situation where she gets into Captain Mac in time before he can kill Max, and she pelts him with golf balls.
Yeah, and basically knocks the gun out of his hand, knocks him out while Max is beating him with the door of his Porsche or whatever, and then Salter shows up. Is like, yeah, we knew it was him the whole time. We're on our way to arrest him.
Yeah.
And then they get the pictures like for the actual evidence that he was there, and then he admits to the murders.
Yeah, and a bit of a lover's tiff. Max and Annie are kind of quarreling over who solves the mystery first.
Which clearly was Max because
Max
he
had
actually
it
had the evidence
on camera. Like, he got the film developed. It's funny, like he literally just spends the entire time drinking and then solves the crime.
Pretty much.
He's just like, oh yeah, mint julep, beer. Let's go across. Let's get on the ferry, drive across. I'm gonna buy the ferry pilot a beer, and then we're gonna come back and have some beers.
Yeah, he's literally just the guy you want to party with.
Yeah,
that is his superpower.
Yeah, and Annie can't resist his charm. Like throughout the book, they're coming together, and that's and then he finds a way after the crime's solved to stay on the island. He starts renting a building and opens up a detective agency on the fly, or private investigation agency.
Which you find out that it's not really a true private investigator because you have to have a license for that, and because he never bothered to get his bar or become a cop, he can't legally become one. So he's just kind of like, again, like Psych, where I just help people find things. I'm not a detective or an investigator. And basically he's just a private dick, and there's very little to no business, which is because they're on a tiny island, which suits him perfectly fine. That he just sits in the office playing mini golf all day.
Yeah, it sounds like it's golden for him.
Exactly, and he's next door to Annie. So he can just, every day at lunch go out, hey, we're going to lunch now, and have a lunch date.
It was his goal all along.
Pretty much.
You know it.
So what are your final thoughts, Alex?
Well, I wanted to, there was one line in this whole book that really jumped out at me.
Oh, okay.
It just made me laugh. Too much curiosity killed cats. and people. Anyway, just couldn't resist. It's good. It's Murder Mystery 101. It's your favorite episode of your cozy TV show. It's just comfort reading. It's good.
Like it's a trashy book, but it's done well.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it trashy. It's fun. It's like murder mysteries can be very dark and depressing. So being we were talking about at the beginning, like pulling back and just kind of having that bird's eye view where you're sort of detached from all the characters and you're just kind of like feeling that satisfied curiosity of a whodunit. It's nice.
Yeah. So this is just a guilty pleasure kind of read, something that's easy to read in the middle of summer or middle of winter, or just whenever that you're we've been reading a lot of books that are really heavy lately. I feel like on this podcast, where they're either trying too hard to be deep or they are actually fairly deep, whether they succeed at it or not, for quality. But this was just like, no, this is just a fun read. Not every read has to be some tome of Russian literature.
Yeah, it's good. Like you can probably pull themes and observances out of it. I'm sure the author is saying something, but it's ultimately just an entertaining read.
Yeah. So as we said, you didn't figure it out to the end. You were just there for the ride, which is a fun way to. That's how I usually do it, because I realized early on, because I don't usually read a lot of these kind of books, so I just never really picked up on the clues. I'd be bouncing all over the place and get annoyed when I found out who I actually was and be like, what? Why? That makes no sense. And it's just like, I'll just read it for the fun. But now that I've read more, it's like, okay, I could kind of get the pattern of it. Looking back, did the clues actually make sense if you had tried to solve it early in the book?
I'm sure if I go back through, I would catch a bunch of giveaways.
So I still say that the weakest link was the pulling of the breakers. Because if you look at where he was seated, it's like you would have to have this giant, massive cord that nobody, going across everybody that nobody saw. Have it pull the breaker to the off position, snap, so he could then throw it in the garbage.
I think also having like the nail polish on his fingers to hide his fingerprints was kind of weird.
Yeah.
But it's I don't know. I think that was just an attempt to be unique. Like, other than gloves, what's a way you can hide your fingerprints?
Exactly.
And then you have to. It's like this whole convoluted thing. Nobody has to notice you pulling the breaker, and then you got to throw the dart, wipe off the fingernail polish, throw it away.
All in the dark, by the way.
Yeah, all in the dark, in a building you're not completely familiar with, and get back to your spot.
I mean, the whole thing with the throwing the dart and the dark actually did work because Elliot was smoking, and therefore you saw.
Yeah, he threw it at the lit cigarette.
Yeah, lit cigarette. So that out of the whole murder scene, that was what made the most sense. Like, oh yeah, I could see that happening. I mean, you're counting on a lot of luck.
Also, you can tell his plan wasn't going to work when he killed the veterinarian, because he's trying to steal the dart was poison, so he's had to steal a poison for the dart, and that got really convoluted. It's like, only this poison will do. So, and then he ends up killing somebody. I'm like, I would rethink the plan to murder another person if you just had to kill somebody for a vial of poison.
Yeah. You said the name dropping for the different authors was getting a little annoying.
Especially before the murder. She's just going over the list of books in the shop.
Yeah. Did you recognize most of the authors?
Not really, no. She had a whole shelf dedicated to Christie's, which is terrible for salesmanship because, Christie sells a lot, but also, it's a small island, and she's available everywhere. You'd think you'd want to find books that have a wider range of appeal, but, yeah, it's whatever.
Yeah.
It's not my bookstore.
Yeah, she does brisk business. And don't forget, it's the tourist industry is where she's really trying to sell them.
I also liked how her business picked up after the murder. It's like a death at a murder mystery bookstore. And they're all checking it out.
And the prime suspect is the owner of the bookstore. And she's trying to hide. I'm like, sweetie, go out there, mingle, because people want to rub elbows with a killer.
Yeah, I like the just almost complete disregard for human life in that whole scene. Everyone's just nosy Parker, just oh, let me see what's going on here.
How would you compare this book to Agatha Christie books that you've read?
I think it's I don't know if it compares to Agatha Christie. Christie's the queen of crime. She's reading now 2 of her books. I mean, obviously she has a very British way of writing, but she's British.
Christie is. But just the era she wrote in, there's a distinct writing style that just has that better feel to it, where this is written more common modern language that everyone writes in, so it feels common, where Agatha Christie feels that step up.
Yeah, Christie's like, I think as far as character development goes, like I think Carolyn's kind of like on that level, whereas like again, you're not very attached to the characters. Like they all have more distinct traits than they are a complex human being, but Christie excels, and she's kind of even today like untouched in this level, is her ability to plot these stories and like really tie up, like there's loose ends in this book, and Christie does a really good job tying up every loose end so that who the killer is at the end makes sense. And it's, you're like, there's red herrings and there's every element of murder mystery,
and
but
there's a lot less filler in Christie books, where this one had a lot of filler of Max and Annie having sex off screen.
Yeah, it's tightly written, it's tightly plotted. Like each book is just a unit of murder mystery, whereas this one they're trying to
pad it out a little bit.
Even with 4 murders, the story got some padding with romance, where Christie tends, I don't know if that's just a British thing, but tends to avoid the romance because Poirot is older and doesn't seem to be interested in women, and Miss Marple's an old spinster, and even her standalone novels, there's not a whole lot going on. Like there's the occasional like an affair, marriage affair or something like that. I think that has something to do with Christie's personal life, honestly, because she had to deal with affairs and things like that in her personal life. But yeah, there's not a lot of padding. It's all just like, here's a death, we're gonna solve the murder, and
we're gonna give you false clues and false leads, but everything's murder related. Yeah. And if it doesn't seem murder related, it does get tied back into being, that was actually related to the murder. Where there's just, like I said, there's just frivolous stuff that happens that has nothing, like all the beers that Max is drinking. A lot of the stuff has nothing to do with anything. It's just drinking with buddies, or I'm having a drink with Annie and we're gonna make love later because we're both just horny teenagers essentially.
Also, like Hercule Poirot, Max Darling, like, who's gonna be the better detective?
Oh, Max all the way.
Come
on. I mean, with a name like Darling. Wait till you get to meeting Max's mom.
Oh boy,
she is. Now that is a character. So for all you people that are interested, keep reading the series. It gets better before it gets worse.
Yeah. I have a feeling that this is the only Carolyn Hart I've read, but I have a feeling it's gonna be consistently good. Like on this level.
Yeah, so they're all similar in this level. I think she does start kind of getting better at it. She definitely develops more characters into more 3-dimensional type things, especially, like I said, a lot of these recurring characters. But then it said, I'm getting towards the end of the series, and you can tell she was getting sick of writing the series.
Yeah, it gets a little rote and formulaic.
And just, you can tell she's sick of Annie and her shenanigans and just kind of mistreating her.
I think you mean shenanigans. That was a good one. That was a good one.
Okay, so last question, Alex. I know we've kind of touched on it. What are your thoughts on the cozy mystery genre, and how do you compare it to other subgenres of the mystery sphere?
I like it. I haven't read too many cozy mysteries, actually, but I really like watching like cozy detective shows because they're fun.
Monk was awesome.
Monk was great. You can tell we had basic cable as kids because we watch all these shows on USA like Psych and Monk and Burn Notice. But
Burn Notice was amazing, at least first couple of seasons.
Yeah, it's like Burn Notice wasn't a cozy mystery, but like Monk was, Psych I guess was as well. But
Psych was a cozy mystery.
Yeah, it's fun watching.
Well, I remember as little kids seeing the reruns of Columbo and Murder, She Wrote, and
it's less about like the murder itself and more about solving the puzzle. Like can you spot it, and it's like because it's fun and you're like trying to solve it with the detective rather than just being like this like testament of brutality. So it takes something as serious as a murder and the loss of a human life and makes it entertaining.
I mean, it's like Gone Baby Gone was entertaining, just in a very different way, right?
Yeah, Gone Baby Gone was brutal. Like we had kids getting ripped
very,
out of
yeah,
good
very
parents' hands.
That was
and-
one of those hard-nosed
yeah,
kind of mysteries.
shoved back into the hands of bad parents. We got people getting murdered left and right. Like it's like that's a very hard-boiled read. But the Death on Demand mystery though, that's great. I love it.
So I've read a couple other authors that are cozy mysteries, and still I'd say Carolyn Hart's my favorite one out of the lesser known names or the more recent ones. Obviously Christie's still top notch, but so out of just generic ones, I remember I can't remember her name of the Suki vampire.
Oh gosh, what's her name? Charlene Harris?
Yeah, Charlene Harris. I read most of those, and those were okay, but they got way heavy on the romance, and it was
that happens with vampires.
Yeah, but it was kind of a fun twist with vampires and fantasy cozy. So, but yeah, that's Death on Demand.
Yeah, highly recommended. I give it 4 stars.
Yeah, four stars.
I'd probably say like 3.5, 4 stars. Like it's solid. It's good.
Oh, remind me, I gotta show you some funny videos on Instagram, Alex.
Okay.
It's about 5 stars.
5 stars.
Anyways, so Alex, you have the next pick.
I do, and I also went with a murder mystery.
Yes, you did, but it's not so cozy.
And it's also, I guess it's technically historical fiction / true crime. Probably
very heavy on the fiction. But a popular tale that everyone knows, and a great movie.
Yeah, it's also
it's the only DVD I think we've ever actually burnt out.
Yeah, it's which if you read the author's review of the movie, you'll be like, oh boy, that's okay. He brutalized the movie of this book. This is also going to be the next month is going to be a bit of an experiment because we haven't done this type of method of storytelling before. We're reading a graphic novel.
Yeah, it should be exciting. Talking about pictures on a audio podcast.
Yes, we'll have to post some images. Not some of the more graphic ones. So this story is From Hell by Alan Moore.
And if you don't want to read the book, though, it is still an excellent book. So this will be a reread for me. The movie with Johnny Depp, I think, was amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty good. We watched it a bunch of times.
Literally, the DVD burnt out and would not play anymore. Like we watched it so often when we were kids.
Not just because Heather Graham's in it.
No, not at all.
Oh yeah, I hardly remember she was in that movie. So. But yeah, From Hell, it's probably one of the biggest graphic novels to ever come out. Honestly, it's Alan Moore. He's the name in graphic fiction, so this will be fun to talk about, I think.
Yeah, it should be good. I'm excited. So yeah, that's the podcast. If you want to support us, please do by telling all your friends, family, whoever about us. Best way to get our show out there is word of mouth. If you don't want to do that, but still want to help us out, give us a comment, a like, 5-star ratings on whatever app you use, but specifically Apple and Spotify. Maybe I'll get another poll up on this one. It's been a while since I've done any polls, Alex, but this might be worth a poll if I can figure out a good question. But sometimes I do polls on Spotify, so check it out. Keep your eyes open for those. They're always fun.
Keep an eye out for Joe's poll.
Yeah, I'll save those comments for another time. So we have an Instagram. Add us there at Kendall Bookworms. You can email us on that, or if you want to email us more directly, kendallbookworms@gmail.com. Alex has some books for sale.
Yes, The Destroyer and Paul Plimpton versus Ragnarok.
The link for the Amazon will be in the description of the video or through our link tree on, I think I only have it on a couple things right now, but the link tree has links to all of our major stuff through Podbean where we're hosted, the Instagram, our Facebook page, our Spotify page, our YouTube page. We are on YouTube, audio only. We have Goodreads pages where you can see what other books we are reading. I write book reviews on Medium and Substack and Goodreads of all the books we're not reviewing. So go check those out, whichever one you want to check out. I don't charge for any of that stuff, just typical book reviews. If I ever get the gumption, maybe I'll put up one of my short stories I've written. Alex, have you gone your poop in a group and started writing book reviews yet?
I have not.
Okay, I didn't think you would be, but
yeah.
Maybe someday.
I got a lot going on. I've been writing some stuff on the side, so I'm excited about.
talking about being busy. Hopefully we'll have some good bonus episodes coming up, but there might be a few months where we have to skip because I am back in school getting an MBA, and Alex is working 3, 4, 5, 6 jobs and in a production at a theater. So
as a guy with an MBA, I guess I'm a master's of education, but as a guy with a master's degree, it's really fun working 3 jobs at once. It's great.
Well, I work 2 jobs with a BA, so maybe this MBA will give me my 3rd job, and
Then you'll really be getting by.
Exactly, yeah. So yeah, I think that's everything, Alex.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Appreciate having you. Tune in next time for From Hell. And until next time, I'm Alex.
And I'm Joe.
And this has been Bookworms.
Out.